The stars were far away, but not as far as they used to be. For the first time in history, humans had made contact with an alien species. The event was called First Contact, and it was a big deal. Governments on Earth had prepared for years. Scientists studied what aliens might look like. Linguists tried to guess how they would speak. Military leaders trained soldiers just in case things went wrong. But nobody expected that one small phrase, just a few silly words, would almost ruin everything. At the center of this moment was a man named Milo Carter. He wasn't a soldier or a pilot. He wasn't even famous. Milo was a linguist, someone who studied languages. He loved learning how people spoke, why they said things, and what those words really meant. He had worked for the United Nations Office of Space Affairs for nearly 10 years. Most of his time was spent translating messages between different countries on Earth. But now he was part of something much bigger, talking to aliens. The aliens were called the Zalari. They had contacted Earth 6 months earlier. Their message came through a deep space probe that had been orbiting Mars for decades. One day the probe started sending back strange signals, not from Mars, but from somewhere beyond Jupiter. At first, scientists thought it was a mistake. Then the signal repeated. It was clear, organized, and unmistakably intelligent. After weeks of analysis, Earth confirmed it. Someone out there had found us. The Zalari were insect-like beings, tall and thin, with smooth shells and large eyes that reflected light like glass. They moved slowly and spoke in soft tones. Their language was complex, full of clicks, hums, and musical notes. To most humans, it sounded like singing mixed with wind chimes. But thanks to years of research and advanced AI, humans had built a translation system that could convert Zalari speech into English, and vice versa. This machine was called the Translation Matrix, and it was supposed to make communication easy. The meeting took place aboard the Earth Diplomatic Station Alpha 7, a floating base near the moon. It was the safest place for first contact, close enough to Earth for help, but far enough to keep things calm. Leading the human team was Commander Dana Reyes. She was in charge of all diplomatic missions in space. Dana was smart, calm, and always ready for anything. She wore a simple gray uniform with a badge that showed she was in command. Her voice was firm, but kind. She believed that peace was possible, even with creatures from another world. Beside her stood Liam Parker, a tech expert who helped run the translation matrix. He was young, maybe 30, with short hair and glasses. Liam liked machines more than people sometimes, but he was good at his job. He made sure the translation system didn't crash, glitch, or misunderstand important words. Together, they waited, in the main chamber of the station. The room was wide and circular, with glowing lights on the floor showing where each person should stand. Cameras recorded every second. Behind them stood a group of diplomats, scientists, and guards. Everyone was nervous. Then, the Zalari arrived. They stepped through a shimmering doorway, a teleportation gate that brought them from their ship to the station. There were 5 of them. The tallest was Captain Vrelks, their leader. His shell was dark blue, and he wore a band across his chest that marked him as high rank. He bowed slightly when he saw Dana, a gesture he had learned from watching Earth videos. Dana did the same. Then both sides sat down at a long table. The translation matrix turned on. "Greetings," said Captain Vrelks, his voice sounding like wind through trees. "Greetings," replied Dana, reading from a screen that translated her words into Zalari. The meeting began. It was formal, careful, and polite. Both sides asked questions. They talked about their planets, their technology, and their goals. The Zalari wanted to learn about humans. Humans wanted to learn about them. The translation system worked well. Every word was understood. For hours they spoke. No mistakes, no confusion. Just 2 species trying to understand each other. And then someone knocked over a water glass. It fell off the table with a loud clink. Water spilled onto the floor. Everyone looked at it. Then Milo laughed. "Well," he said, wiping some water, off the table with his sleeve. "That's a fine how do you do." Nobody else said anything. Some of the humans smiled. Others gave Milo a look like, "Why did you say that?" But the Zalari froze. Their heads tilted slightly. Their eyes blinked once. And then, the translation matrix made a sound, like a phone running, out of battery. It flickered. Then, it shut off. Silence filled the room. Captain Vrelk stood up slowly. His voice was sharp now. "What is the meaning of that phrase?" Dana looked confused. "Excuse me?" she asked. "You said, 'That is a fine how do you do.' What does it mean?" Milo raised his hands. "Oh, it's nothing serious. It's just something we say when something weird happens." "It means nothing?" asked one of the younger Zalari. "Not exactly," Milo said. "It means that was unexpected. And a little silly." There was a pause. Then, Captain Vrelks turned to his team. They spoke quickly in their own language. Their voices rose. The translation matrix stayed off. Finally, Vrelks looked back at Dana. "We must end this session," he said. "Our systems need recalibration." "Wait," Dana said. "Is everything okay?" Vrelks stared at her. "We do not know," he said. "Your language has become unclear." Then, without another word, the Zalari left. The room was quiet again. Milo looked at Dana. "I think I broke first contact," he said. Dana sighed. "You might have," she said. "But let's find out what happened." Liam was already working on the translation matrix. He checked logs, ran tests, and frowned. Something in that phrase, he said, completely overloaded the system. "Because of one sentence?" Dana asked. "Yeah," Liam said. "And I don't know why." Outside the window, the stars shone bright. Somewhere out there, the Zalari were thinking about what had just happened, and on Earth, news of the event was starting to spread. No one knew it yet, but that one silly phrase had done more than knock over a glass. It had changed everything. After the Zalari left the meeting room, silence filled the space. Nobody said a word at first. Commander Dana Reyes stood still, her hands on the table, looking at the spilled water like it might explain what had just happened. Milo Carter scratched his head. "I didn't think it was that weird," he said quietly. Liam Parker looked up from his tablet. His face was pale. "You don't say something like that to aliens who've never heard sarcasm before," he said. "Especially not during first contact." Dana turned to him. "What exactly happened?" she asked. Liam tapped his screen and pulled up a log from the translation matrix. "This phrase, 'That's a fine how do you do,' it doesn't mean anything literal," he explained. "The system tried to translate it as if it were real language, but it's an idiom. It doesn't make sense unless you understand the culture behind it." "So, the machine got confused?" Milo asked. "Confused is too simple," Liam said. It hit a loop. The phrase broke down into parts. "Fine. How. Do. You. Do." It tried to assign meaning to each word, but none of them matched any known logic structure. Then it tried to cross-reference with emotional, context, tone, and cultural background. It couldn't find anything matching, so it just shut down? Dana asked. "Yeah," Liam said. "And not just the translator. Some of the Zalari systems linked to it also went offline for a few seconds. We saw a brief energy drop in their ship." Dana rubbed her forehead. "We scared them," she said. "They thought we said something dangerous." Milo sighed. "I was trying to be friendly," he said. "People say that when things go wrong. It's like saying, 'Well, that's unexpected.' But they don't know that," Dana said. "To them, everything has to mean something exact. No jokes, no metaphors, no slang." She looked back at the door where the Zalari had left. "We need to fix this," she said, "before someone thinks we declared war by accident." Later that day, Dana called another meeting. This time it wasn't with the Zalari. It was with the humans. The Earth Diplomatic Station Alpha 7 had a small briefing room. It was round, with glowing screens on the walls and chairs arranged in a circle. Everyone who had been in the main chamber was there. Milo, Liam, and several other scientists, translators, and security officers. They watched a replay of the moment the glass fell. They listened to Milo's words again. "That's a fine how do you do." Everyone winced. One of the linguists, Nina Cho, shook her head. "This is why we have rules," she said. "No slang, no idioms, no casual speech during formal contact." "No," Milo said. "I messed up." "It's not about blame," Dana said. "It's about damage control. We need to explain what happened before the Zilari jumped to the wrong conclusion." Liam raised his hand. "There's something else," he said. "When I checked the logs, I found out that the phrase caused more than just a crash." He tapped his tablet again and a graph appeared on the screen. "The Zilari AI tried to process the phrase using logical structures," he explained. "But since the words didn't match any known pattern, it kept looping through possibilities. It tried to find a hidden meaning. Eventually, the system started breaking down its own code to try and make sense of it." "Like a computer thinking too hard?" one of the guards asked. "Kind of," Liam said. "Except for them, language isn't just communication, it's part of their identity. Their whole society runs on structured logic. They don't use metaphor or humor. So when they heard something that didn't follow rules, they panicked." Dana finished. "Yeah," Liam said. "They didn't just hear nonsense, they felt like their reality was broken." There was a long pause. Milo looked at the others. "I should apologize," he said. "Yes," Dana said. "And we need to send a full explanation. We have to show them that this wasn't a threat. It was just a mistake." "And maybe," Nina added, "we should start teaching them about our language before we talk again." "That could help," Dana agreed. "But we'll have to ask permission first." She looked at the screen showing the Zilari ship floating nearby. Let's hope they're still willing to listen. That night, Dana sent a message to Captain Vrelks. It was short and polite. "Dear Captain Vrelks, we wish to speak with you again. We want to explain what happened today. Please let us do so. Sincerely, Commander Dana Reyes." The reply came hours later. "We will meet tomorrow. Bring your speaker." Just that. No questions, no anger, just agreement. The next morning, the Zilari returned. This time the room was empty except for 2 tables facing each other. No cameras, no extra people. Just Dana, Milo, Liam, and the Zilari delegation. Captain Vrelk sat across from them. His eyes were calm, but his posture was stiff. "You wish to explain," he said. Dana nodded. "Yes," she said. "We are sorry for what happened yesterday. It was not meant to cause harm." Milo leaned forward. "I was the one who spoke," he said. "I said something without thinking. It was a mistake." Vrelks looked at him. "What did it mean?" Milo took a deep breath. "In our language," he said, "sometimes we say things that don't mean exactly what they sound like. We call it figurative language. It's not always literal. Sometimes we say something strange to show surprise or confusion." "Like lying?" one of the younger Zilari asked. "Not lying," Milo said. "More like adding flavor to the truth." Vrelks tilted his head. "Flavor?" "Like spices in food," Milo said. "It makes things taste better, even though it's not the main part." Silence followed. Then slowly, one of the Zilari diplomats said, "You season your speech?" Milo smiled. "Yeah," he said. "Kind of." Vrelks looked at his team. They spoke among themselves for a few minutes. Then he looked back. "You must teach us," he said, "or we may not understand you at all." Dana smiled. "We'd be happy to," she said. And for the first time since the glass had fallen, the tension in the room began to fade. After the meeting ended, the Zilari returned to their ship. They did not say much. Their movements were slow, and their voices were quiet. The humans watched them go, unsure what would happen next. Back inside the Earth Diplomatic Station Alpha 7, Milo sat alone in the small study room. He stared at his tablet, flipping through old records of phrases that confused machines before. He had seen computers get stuck on slang, sarcasm, or strange word orders, but never like this. He typed in the phrase again. "That's a fine how do you do." It looked harmless. But now he knew it wasn't just words. It was something deeper. Something the Zalari couldn't understand because they didn't have anything like it. Liam came into the room with a cup of coffee. "You still looking at that?" he asked. Milo nodded, trying to figure out why it hit them so hard, he said. Liam sat. Down beside him, "I ran more tests," he said. The translation matrix tried to break down the phrase into parts. Fine means good or okay. How do you do is a greeting, but when you put them together like that, nothing makes sense. Right, Milo said. It's an idiom. We don't mean it literally. We use it when something is weird or unexpected. But they don't know that, Liam said. They thought we were giving them a message with hidden meaning. Milo sighed. We need to explain idioms to them, he said. And metaphors and jokes, all of it. Liam gave him a tired look. You're going to teach aliens how to understand sarcasm? Why not? Milo said. If we can learn their language, they can learn ours. The next day, Dana called another meeting. This time, she wanted answers. She wanted to know exactly what had happened to the Zalari systems when Milo spoke. She also wanted to plan how to fix things. In the briefing room, scientists and linguists gathered around the table. On the screen, data from the Zalari ship showed a sudden drop in energy levels during the crash. One of the tech experts, Raj Patel, explained what it meant. Their system didn't just freeze, he said. It started breaking down its own code trying to make sense of the phrase. It kept looping through possible meanings, trying to find logic where there wasn't any. So it got stuck? Someone asked. Yeah, Raj said. Like a car spinning its wheels in mud. The harder it tried, the deeper it sank. Dana rubbed her eyes. And the Zalari? She asked. How did they react? They panicked, said Nina Cho, the linguist. Not in the way we panic. They don't scream or run. But internally, their whole way of thinking depends on structure and clear meaning. When they heard something that made no sense, they felt broken, Milo finished. Everyone looked at him. That's what it must feel like, he said. To hear something that doesn't follow rules. If your whole life runs on logic and then suddenly there's nonsense. He paused. You start questioning everything. Silence filled the room. Finally, Dana stood up. We need to talk to them again, she said. Soon. Later that afternoon, the Zalari responded to Dana's request for another meeting. They agreed. This time, the meeting took place in the Zalari ship. The humans stepped onto the alien vessel for the first time. The walls were smooth and glowing. Lights moved slowly across the floor like water flowing under glass. Everything felt calm but different. Captain Vrelks waited for them in a round chamber filled with soft sounds. Around him stood other Zalari diplomats. Their eyes were focused, their bodies still. Dana introduced everyone. Then she turned to Vrelks. We want to help you understand what happened, she said. We think it will help prevent mistakes in the future. Vrelks tilted his head slightly. Then explain, he said. Milo stepped forward. In our language, he began, we often say things that are not literal. Sometimes we use words that sound like one thing but mean another. These are called idioms. He held up his tablet and showed a list. It's raining cats and dogs. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Break a leg. Bite the bullet. Spill the beans. These phrases, Milo said, do not mean what they seem to say. None of them are about babies, bullets, or beans. The Zalari looked at the screen. Then one of them, a younger diplomat named Trelka, spoke. These are not lies? No, Milo said. They are not lies. They are expressions. They help us share feelings in a fun or clever way. Another Zalari asked, why not speak plainly? Milo smiled. Because plain words don't always show how we feel, he said. Sometimes we want to be funny. Sometimes we want to be kind without being direct. Sometimes we just like making each other laugh. There was a pause. Then Captain Vrelk said, "You communicate through unpredictability." "Yes," Milo said. "We do." Vrelks looked at his team. They spoke quietly among themselves. Finally, he turned back. "This will take time," he said. "We must learn to accept that your speech does not always follow rules." "That's right," Dana said, "but we're willing to help." "And we are willing to try," Vrelk said. For the first time, the tension between them felt lighter. That night, as the humans returned to their station, Milo looked out the window at the stars. He thought about how hard it was to explain something that seemed simple. How could you tell someone that a phrase like, "That's a fine how do you do," wasn't dangerous but just silly? And yet maybe that was the point. Maybe understanding each other meant learning to laugh at the same things, even if those things didn't make sense at first, because sometimes laughter was the only way to fix what had been broken. The next few days were busy. After the meeting with Captain Vrelix, the humans knew they had to act fast. The Zalari were still willing to talk, but only if they could understand each other better. Commander Dana Reyes called for a full review of all past communications between Earth and the Zalari. Every word spoken so far was checked by linguists, translators, and tech experts. They wanted to make sure there were no other phrases that might cause problems. Milo Carter led the effort to explain idioms to the Zalari. He made a list of common expressions used by humans, things like, "That's the last straw," "hit the sack," or "it's not rocket science." Then he worked with Nina Cho and Liam Parker to translate them into something the Zalari could understand. But it wasn't easy. The Zalari didn't just need translations, they needed explanations. Why did humans say things that didn't mean what they sounded like? What was the purpose of such language? So Milo started giving lessons. He met with a small group of Zalari diplomats every day. At first, they sat quietly, watching him speak. They took notes, they asked questions, but slowly they began to ask more. One morning, Trelka, the young Zalari who had asked if idioms were lies, raised a hand. "You said break a leg means good luck," she said. "Why not say good luck?" Milo smiled. "Because sometimes we want to be funny," he said. "We use strange words to show how we feel, not just what we mean." Trelka tilted her head. "So, you speak through emotion, not fact?" "Yes," Milo said. "Sometimes feelings are more important than facts." That idea stayed with the Zalari long after the lesson ended. Back on the station, Liam worked hard to fix the translation matrix. He updated its code to flag ambiguous phrases. Now, when someone used an idiom or slang, the system would pause and give a warning before translating. It wasn't perfect, but it helped. Still, some parts of human speech confused the machine. Sarcasm was especially tricky, so Liam added a new feature, tone detection. The matrix now tried to guess if someone was being serious or joking. This led to some funny moments. During one test, Dana said, "Oh great, another meeting," in a sarcastic voice. The matrix paused, then translated it as, "Speaker seems unhappy about this event." Everyone laughed. Even the Zalari found it amusing. Captain Vrelks watched the test carefully. "This is clever," he said. "Your machine learns from sound." "It's trying," Liam said, "but it's not perfect yet." Vrelka looked at the screen. "Will it ever understand your full meaning?" she asked. Liam shrugged. "Maybe not completely," he said, "but we're getting closer." As the days passed, the humans and Zalari started to build trust. The meetings became longer. The conversations grew deeper. They talked about more than just language. They talked about life. Dana invited the Zalari to watch Earth movies. She chose simple ones at first, comedies with clear stories and little slang. The Zalari sat in silence during the films. They watched closely. They didn't laugh at first. But by the third movie, one of them, a diplomat named Corvin, let out a soft hum that sounded almost like laughter. Afterward, Corvin asked, "Do all your stories end happily?" "No," Milo said. "Some end badly." Some leave you thinking. Some don't have endings at all. Corvin blinked slowly. That is strange, he said. But real, Milo replied. Like life. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news of the incident had spread. People were curious. Some were worried. Others thought it was funny. Late-night TV shows ran jokes about it. One host said, apparently aliens can't handle sarcasm. Maybe we should send comedians instead of diplomats. Another joked, if you want to crash an alien AI, just say, well, that's a fine how do you do. Social media was filled with memes. How to start interstellar peace. Step 1. Learn. Grammar step 2. Avoid idiom step. Step 4. Profit. Some people even started making videos teaching aliens how to understand human speech. Milo became a kind of celebrity online. Fans sent him messages asking if he'd write a book. He told them, not yet. I'm still trying to teach aliens how to laugh. Back on the station, Dana held another meeting with Captain Vrelks. She wanted to know how the Zilari were feeling about everything. We know our language caused confusion, she said. We want to make sure we don't do it again. Vrelks looked at her. You have been honest, he said. And patient. We respect that. He paused. Your way of speaking is difficult for us, he continued. But we are learning. We see now that your words carry more than meaning. They carry feeling. Dana smiled. That's right, she said. And we're learning from you too. How? Vrelks asked. You remind us to be careful with words, Dana said. To think before we speak. To listen more than we talk. Vrelks nodded slowly. That is wise, he said. Silence followed. Then, Trelka spoke up. I have a question, she said. Yes? Dana asked. Trelka looked at Milo. If fine how do you do means surprise, she said. What would you say if something was truly dangerous? Milo thought for a moment. Well, he said, then we'd probably say, oh no. Trelka repeated the phrase, oh no. She looked at Vrelks. We should remember that one, she said. Everyone laughed, even the Zilari. And for the first time since the glass had fallen, the room felt like a place where two very different species were finally starting to understand each other. The lessons continued. Every day, Milo met with a small group of Zilari diplomats inside the Earth Diplomatic Station Alpha 7. At first, the meetings were quiet and formal. The Zilari took notes like students in school. They asked questions carefully, and they tried to repeat what Milo said, though their voices often made the phrases sound strange. But slowly, things changed. Trelka started asking more questions. She wanted to know why humans used so many different ways to say the same thing. She watched videos of people talking on the street. She listened to jokes. She even asked Milo to speak sarcastically so she could hear the difference. One morning, she walked into the room and said, "Good morning, teacher." Milo smiled. "That's not sarcasm," he said. She frowned. "I know," she replied. "But I am practicing." They both laughed. It was a small moment, but it meant something big. Back on the Zilari ship, the diplomats began to share what they had learned. Captain Vrelks held meetings with his team. He explained idioms, metaphors, and tone shifts. He showed them clips of human speech. He even played parts of movies where characters lied without lying, like when someone says nothing when they clearly want to talk about something. At first, most of the Zilari found it confusing. One of them, Corvin, shook his head. "Your kind must spend much time learning to understand each other," he said. Milo nodded. "Sometimes we don't understand each other at all," he said. "Even among ourselves." That surprised them. They had thought humans always knew what others meant. But now they saw that even humans had trouble with their own language. This made them feel less alone. Meanwhile, Liam worked hard on the translation matrix. He added new filters. He taught it to recognize tone changes. He gave it examples of sarcasm, humor, and emotional shifts. Now, when someone said something like, "Sure, that makes sense," the system would check if the speaker sounded serious or not. Sometimes it still got confused. During one test, Dana said, "You really know how to make a girl feel special," in a flat voice. The machine translated it as, "Speaker is being ironic." Everyone laughed, even the Zalari. Corvin looked at the screen. "This is clever," he said. "Your machine learns from emotion." "It tries," Liam said. "But it's not perfect, yet." Vrelks leaned forward. "Perhaps," he said, "we should teach our systems to learn from your emotions too." There was silence. Then Dana spoke. "That would be a great step," she said, "toward real understanding." As the days passed, the Zalari became more comfortable with human expressions. They started using some of the phrases themselves, though not always correctly. One afternoon, Trelka entered the meeting room and said, "I will see you on the flip side of the moon." Milo blinked. "That's not quite right," he said. She looked disappointed. "I heard someone say it on a video," she said. "It means goodbye?" "Well," Milo said, "yes. But usually we say, 'See you on the flip side,' or 'Catch you on the other side.'" Trelka tilted her head. "So, there are rules even in your chaos?" Milo grinned. "Kind of," he said. "Just not ones we write down." She nodded. "I will try again." And she did. By the end of the week, she could tell when someone was joking. She could guess when a phrase wasn't literal. And once, during a break, she whispered to Milo, "Do you think I could ever pass for human?" Milo looked at her smooth. Shell, large eyes and clicking fingers. "Only if you wear sunglasses and keep quiet," he joked. She didn't laugh out loud, but her eyes sparkled. On Earth, the news kept coming. People followed the progress between the humans and the Zalari with growing interest. Scientists wrote papers. Talk shows discussed it. Even schools started teaching kids about the differences between alien and human communication. A popular cartoon show made an episode where a robot tried to understand slang. It kept crashing every time someone said, "Cool beans" or "No cap." Kids loved it. Teachers used it in class. And somewhere in a small town, a boy named Ethan wrote a letter to Milo. "Dear Mr. Carter, I think aliens are cool. Can you teach my teacher how to speak like them? She doesn't understand me either. Sincerely, Ethan." Milo read it and smiled. He wrote back, "Dear Ethan, sometimes teachers and aliens have something in common. They both need time to understand us. Hang in there. Sincerely, Milo." Back on the station, Dana called another meeting with Captain Vrelks. She wanted to know how the Zalari were feeling after everything. "You've been very patient," she said, "and you've come a long way." Vrelks nodded. "We have learned much," he said, "and we have seen that your species speaks in many layers, not just meaning, but feeling, culture, history." Dana smiled. "That's true," she said. "Language isn't just words. It's who we are." Vrelks looked at her for a long moment. "Then perhaps," he said, "we are not just learning your language. We are learning your people." Dana nodded. "And we're learning yours too." Silence filled the room. Not awkward, but thoughtful. Then Trelka stepped forward. "May I try something?" she asked. "Of course," Dana said. Trelka took a deep breath. Then she said, "Well, that's a fine how do you do." Everyone paused. Then, slowly, everyone began to laugh. Even the translation matrix stayed online. And for the first time since the glass had fallen, the phrase no longer felt like a mistake. It felt like progress. After Trelka said, "Well, that's a fine how do you do," something changed. It wasn't just that she got the phrase right. It was that everyone laughed, even the Zalari. For the first time since the crash, laughter filled the room without worry. No one feared it would break anything. Not the Matrix, not the aliens, not even the humans. The tension that had built up over the past weeks finally melted away. Later that day, Dana sat with Milo and Liam in the station's small lounge. The windows showed the stars outside, quiet and calm. "I think we turned a corner today," Dana said. Milo sipped his coffee. "Yeah," he said. Turns out all it took was teaching aliens sarcasm. Liam shook his head. It wasn't just sarcasm, he said. It was understanding. They finally see that our language isn't broken, it's just different. Dana smiled. And now, she said, we have to keep building on this. They spent the next few days working hard to make sure the progress didn't stop. Milo kept giving lessons to the Zilari diplomats. He added new phrases every day, things like, "You've got to be kidding me. That's the pot calling the kettle black," or, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch." At first the Zilari looked confused, but slowly they began to understand the meaning behind them. Trelka became the best student. She started making jokes on her own. Some were funny, others were not, but she kept trying. One morning, she walked into the room and said, "If I say bite the bullet, will your translator survive?" Milo grinned. "Only if you don't say it too fast." She nodded. "Good," she said, "because I have many more phrases to try." Meanwhile, Liam worked on the translation matrix. He updated it again, adding a new feature, cultural context, mode. Now, when a speaker used an idiom, slang, or sarcastic tone, the system wouldn't just translate the words, it would explain the background. For example, if someone said, "break a leg," the matrix would add a note. Note, this is an idiom used to wish good luck. If someone said "cool beans," it would show, note, this is a casual way of saying okay or fine. And if someone said, "oh, that's just great," in a sarcastic tone, the system would warn, note, speaker may not mean what they are saying. It wasn't perfect, but it helped. During a test run, Captain Vrelks spoke to Dana using the updated system. "Your people," he said, "have taught us that meaning is not always found in words alone." The matrix translated. It then added, "Note, speaker appears to be expressing respect." Dana smiled. "Thank you," she said, "and thank you for learning from us." Vrelks gave a slow nod. "Learning goes both ways," he said. As the humans and Zilari grew closer, they began to share more than just language. The Zilari invited Dana and her team to learn about their communication style. They explained that Zilari speech was not only about words, it was also about sound, rhythm, and emotion. Their voices could shift in pitch to show mood. They used pauses and silence to show respect. And sometimes they didn't speak at all. They communicated through light patterns on their skin. It was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. One afternoon, Corvin demonstrated. He stood in front of the group and closed his eyes. Then slowly colors spread across his shell. Deep blues, soft greens, and warm golds. "This," he said, "is how we show joy." Milo watched closely. "So, you glow when you're happy?" he asked. Corvin opened his eyes. "Yes," he said. "And when we are sad, our color fades." Dana looked amazed. "This is incredible," she said. "You express feelings through light." "It is part of who we are," Corvin said. Milo thought for a moment. "What if we tried to use music?" he asked. "Like to match your tones?" Trelka tilted her head. "Music?" "Yes," Milo said. "Humans use sound to show emotion too. Maybe we can find a way to talk through music." Everyone liked the idea. So later that week, they held a small experiment. The Zilari hummed in harmony. The humans played soft notes on a keyboard. Together, they created a mix of sound and light that felt like conversation, without a single word spoken. When it ended, there was silence. Then, slowly, the Zilari began to glow brighter. Joy, respect, understanding. Back on Earth, the news spread fast. People loved hearing about the new ways the two species were connecting. Schools started teaching kids about Zilari light language. Musicians made songs inspired by their sounds, and memes filled the internet. How to talk to aliens. Step 1, teach them sarcasm. Step 2, play them music. Step 3, Step 4, profit, even. Late-night hosts joked about it. One host said, "Apparently aliens don't just want to learn our language, they want to dance to our music too." Another said, If this keeps going, soon we'll be inviting them to karaoke night. People laughed. But deep down, they knew something big was happening. Two very different species were finding a way to understand each other, not just through words, but through feeling, culture, and shared experience. Back on the station, Dana called another meeting with Captain Vrelks. She wanted to talk about the future. We've come far, she said, but I think we can go further. Vrelks looked at her. What do you suggest? Dana leaned forward. Let's build a shared language, she said. Not just translations, not just idioms, a real mix of both our ways of speaking. Vrelks thought for a moment. A new form of communication, he said. Yes, Dana said. Something that belongs to both of us. Silence followed. Then slowly, Vrelks smiled. Then let us begin, he said. And with that, the next chapter of human-Zalari relations officially began. A chapter not just about diplomacy, but about connection, about trust, and about finding meaning in more than just words. Back on Earth, things were changing fast. The news about the Zalari and their language struggles had started as a quiet report. It was shared only with scientists, diplomats, and government leaders. But secrets don't stay secret for long, especially not in space. Someone leaked it. It started with a short video clip from inside the Earth diplomatic station Alpha 7. No one knew who recorded it or how it got out. But suddenly people everywhere were watching Milo Carter say, well, that's a fine how do you do. And then, crash. The translation matrix blinked off. The Zalari froze. Everyone looked shocked. The clip spread like fire. People watched it, over and over. They laughed. They made jokes. They added subtitles and music. One version even played dramatic opera music in the background when Milo said the phrase. Soon it wasn't just the clip that went viral. It was everything, every part of the mission became public. People read reports about how the Zalari couldn't understand sarcasm. They found out that idioms broke machines. They learned that aliens were now studying stand-up comedy to understand humans better. Social media exploded. At first, the United Nations tried to keep things under control. They issued a statement saying the leak was unauthorized and asked people to stop sharing classified footage. But it was too late. Everyone already saw it and they loved it. Late-night TV hosts ran segments about it. One host joked, apparently all we need to stop an alien invasion is a comedian and a glass of water. Another said, if you want to crash an alien AI, just say something confusing. Maybe try asking, how are you, Ken, while walking away. Comedy shows made skits where actors played confused aliens trying to understand human slang. In one sketch, an alien diplomat asked, what does break a leg mean? A human replied, it means good luck. The alien paused, then said, that makes no sense. I must break my leg now? Everyone laughed. Even the Zalari found it funny. As the memes grew, so did the questions. Some people were curious. Others were worried. A few thought the whole thing was fake. Conspiracy theorists jumped in fast. One popular blog claimed the Zalari weren't really aliens. They were secret robots built by the government to test human behavior. Another site said the phrase, fine. How do you do was actually a hidden code meant to start world peace. There were wild theories about why the Zalari had trouble with language. Some said it was because they were hiding something. Others said it proved they weren't real. But most people didn't care about the theories, they cared about the story. They liked hearing about how two very different species were learning to talk to each other, not just through words, but through laughter, music, and light. Kids wrote school reports about it. Teachers used it in class. And somewhere in a small town, a girl named Maya sent a letter to Milo. Dear Mr. Carter, I think it's cool that you taught aliens how to laugh. Can you teach my little brother? He doesn't get any jokes. Milo read it and smiled. He wrote back, Dear Maya, some people take longer to learn humor. Keep telling jokes. Someday he'll laugh too. Back on the station, life had changed. Milo had become famous overnight. He got messages from fans, scientists, and even comedians asking if he could help write new material. Reporters wanted interviews. Schools invited him to speak. A popular podcast asked him to be a guest. He turned them all down. "I'm not a celebrity," he told Dana. "I'm just a guy who messed up once." Dana laughed. "You might have broken the matrix," she said. "But you also fixed it." Liam agreed. "Besides," he said, "you're the only reason the Zeleri know what sarcasm is." Trelka, who had been listening nearby, raised her hand. "Still do not fully understand it," she said. "But we are getting better." She looked at Milo. "You should be proud," she said. Milo gave a small smile. "Maybe one day," he said. "But for now I just want to keep teaching." On the Zeleri ship, the crew watched the videos too. They didn't understand all the jokes. But they saw how much fun humans had with language, how they played with words, how they used sound, rhythm, and tone to show meaning. Captain Vrelks called a meeting with his team. "We have learned much," he said. "And now we must decide what comes next." Corvin spoke first. "Should we continue?" he asked. "Or should we pause until we understand more?" Vrelks looked at him. "Understanding never ends," he said. "We learn, we grow, we change." Paused. "This is what the humans show us," he said. "They do not fear confusion. They find joy in it." Silence filled the room. Then Trelka stepped forward. "Then let us keep learning," she said. And one by one, the others nodded. "Yes. Let us keep learning." Months passed. The humans and Zeleri kept working together. What had started as a diplomatic mission turned into something more, something deeper. They weren't just translating words anymore. They were learning about each other's lives. "Captain." Vrelix invited Dana and her team to visit the Zeleri homeworld. It was the first time any human had been asked to go there. Dana accepted. Milo and Liam went with her, along with a few others. They traveled aboard a Zeleri ship, floating through space toward a planet no human had ever seen. As they neared the surface, they looked out the window. The sky was dark blue. The land was covered in smooth hills and glowing rivers. Tall spires rose from the ground, some natural, some built by the Zeleri themselves. It was beautiful and strange, but it felt like home even before they landed. When they stepped off the ship, the air was cool and soft. Lights moved across the ground like waves. The Zeleri greeted them with slow bows and quiet voices. Trelka was there to meet them. She looked different now, not changed, but more confident. She spoke better than ever. Her tone matched Milo's when she joked. "Welcome," she said, "to our world." Milo smiled. "I hope we don't break anything this time," he said. Trelka tilted her head. "You may say something confusing," she said, "but I do not think you will break us again." They both laughed. Over the next few days, the humans saw how the Zeleri lived. Their cities were built with light. Structures glowed softly at night. Their homes were warm without fire. Their music was made with voice and echo, not instruments. Everything was calm, ordered, peaceful. But something had changed. The humans noticed it in small ways. Zeleri children played games that sounded like jokes. Older ones used phrases they had learned from Earth videos. One diplomat told a joke that ended with, "And then he said, 'You call that a haircut?'" Everyone laughed, even the adults. Liam watched it happen and whispered to Milo, "They're starting to get it." Milo nodded. "Yeah," he said. "They're not just learning our language. They're making it their own." One evening, the humans were invited to a performance. It wasn't like any show on Earth. There was no stage, no lights, no music. Instead, the Zeleri gathered in a large circle. They hummed together, creating a deep, moving sound. Then slowly, colors spread across their bodies, blues, greens, reds. It was like watching a living painting. At one point, Trelka stood up and spoke. She told a story, not in her own language, but in English. It was short, simple, funny. She talked about the day Milo knocked over a glass and said, "Well, that's a fine how do you do." The crowd laughed. Some even glowed brighter. Afterward, Captain Vrelks walked up to Dana. You have changed us, he said. Dana looked surprised. We didn't mean to, she said. Frelick smiled. That is what makes it real, he said. Change does not always come from plans. Sometimes it comes from laughter. He paused. We have learned much from your people, he said. Not only your words, but your way of thinking, your way of feeling. Dana smiled. And we've learned from you too, she said. About harmony, about patience, about listening. Frelks gave a slow nod. Then perhaps, he said, we are not so different after all. Back on Earth, news of the visit spread, fast. People loved hearing about the new bond between humans and Zalari. Schools added lessons about their culture. Scientists studied their language changes, and comedians made jokes about how aliens were now better at sarcasm than some humans. One late-night host said, if you want to learn how to be funny, maybe try hanging out with bugs from outer space. Another joked, turns out, all it takes to make friends with aliens is a little confusion and a lot of laughter. Even kids got into it. A boy named Ethan wrote to Milo again. Dear Mr. Carter, my teacher says I talk too much. Can you tell the Zalari to invite me to their planet? Maybe they'll understand me better. Milo wrote back, Dear Ethan, I'll put in a good word for you. But I can't promise they'll understand everything you say. Nobody does. Back on the Zalari homeworld, the final day came. Dana, Milo, and Liam stood beside Vrelks and Trelka, looking out over a glowing valley. It has been an honor, Dana said. And for us as well, Vrelks replied. Trelka looked at Milo. You taught us more than language, she said. You taught us to listen. Milo smiled. And you taught me something too, he said. That understanding doesn't always come from words. There was silence. Then, slowly, Trelka raised her hand. She said, Well, that's a fine how do you do. And once again, everyone laughed. Not because the phrase made sense, but because it didn't have to. Because sometimes the best moments aren't about meaning. Sometimes they're about friendship and laughter, even between two very different species.